So did I.
All right. Make sure everybody's here. I'm gonna call your names. Sit here. Jackson. Colby.
Here.
Mav.
Here.
Jahida. Anis. Elam. Niat. Ryan Rafferty. Ben. Luke. Megan. Here. Zach. Nathan.
Here.
Abby. Emma.
Here.
Marcus. Marcus is not here. Chris.
Here.
Nick.
Here.
Miller. Aubrey.
Here.
Dee. Brianna.
Here.
Cole.
Here.
Megan. Cole Spikesman.
Here.
Cole Bingel, yeah. Aubrey Mahoney.
Here.
Evan.
Yo.
Chase.
Hi.
Connor.
Here.
Trey. Marvin.
Here.
Brian Dotson.
Here.
Shayla.
Here.
Okay. Today we'll go over some of the directions. I will assign some people some parts, and then everybody, these parts will kind of be assigned. I've assigned them. The attorney part is a part that everybody can get a chance at if they would like. It's actually a lot of reading. Okay, it's basically this trial is going to be. It's all set. I have each spot. There is the packet that goes along with it. It's a lot of it's reading, and it's just kind of like it's almost like a play. It's a mock trial where you'll read one thing, the defense, so the attorney has a question to read, the witness has their part to read. They go back and forth until that's done. All right, you guys at your desks will be responsible for being the jury. Okay. Now everybody, actually, I shouldn't say that. Everyone's responsible for being the jury. So even the people that have parts up there, they will have to fill out this part too. This is a note page, handled down, that will give you a chance to take notes about what you're hearing from the trial. Just like if you were a regular jury, you would have to have a notepad and pen and paper so that during the jury, you guys are taking notes on what you hear. Because sometimes during a jury trial lasts for a month. Well, if you don't remember what happened a month ago, or you're not writing that stuff down, you can't make a very informed decision. So, if you look at it, has two parts to it. Okay. This part, this backside where it says jury instructions writing assignment, this is the part that is due. This is the part that you'll have to complete and finish and turn into. Okay. This side that has the columns on it, this is the evidence, the things that you're hearing from each side. So, Pat Green, any information from the witnesses that make you think his rights were violated or evidence to that fact, you would put down this side. Any evidence that you think his rights were not violated or against what he's kind of saying, you would put on that side. And at the end of this, you would use that information to answer those questions. Yes, ma'am. Did you get one? Okay, so that is your part. So you'll need this for the next 3 days. Today, you will be filling out and writing notes and trying to do that. I might add something in there that says, hey, did you get that down? This might be a good time to make sure you're listening, okay? And entire thing, so make sure you're jotting down those notes, okay? So this is the directions of what you're doing, right? You're listening to each of the arguments, all the witnesses, the evidence, okay? Thinking about the law. You're kind of deciding these things. Was Pat Green's suspension justified? Okay. Have his First and Fourth Amendment rights been violated? Did the principal violate school policy? Did the police follow proper procedures? And what past case law sets precedence for this case? Okay, write your answers to the above questions on the pieces on the paper that you have. You don't have to worry about the notebook paper because we've given you the back side of that to write. Okay. All right. Any other questions about that before we get started? I'm going to assign you spots right now. Okay. So some of the people have to come up here. So Pat Green. We're on this side. Chris, you're Pat. Bree, you're Taylor. Connor, you're Chris. Well, bring your paper. Yeah, bring your paper and your pencil. That's all you need on top of your desk. Okay, over here, Dr. Jebediah Boomsnickel. That's math. Nikki is Aubrey D. Sam White is Evan. So Marcus, or you go find a spot. Okay. So now, when it's your turn to come up and be the lawyer, you would come over here. You would follow. This will be kind of following along. We'll have the opening statement. Okay, so we'll have to have an opening statement from the lawyer. You come over and you read the opening statement. Then basically you flip the page for the next person. And I'll take volunteers or I will just call on people. It's a lot of reading, so if you don't want to get up and read a lot, you don't have to, but I will need to pick on or call on some people to come up here and read. If you're up here a second or third time at some point over the next couple of days, that would be fine also. Okay? So this is your lawyer. This kind of follows along with what we're doing. All right? At these spots. All right, you're gonna need to follow along because basically you're set up in the way that you will testify. So we might not even get to you guys today, but you guys have the packet with you right here. So we'll go through it. So whoever's got it at that point, just gotta follow along and make sure they're turning the page when we get there. And once we get past the opening statements, then you will have the spots where it's your turn to testify. Okay, actually, it'll be your group. You guys will testify today. You guys might not be able to for the next couple of days. Okay, we'll go along when we can. All right, I am the judge. I'm not like Mr. Hicks been doing this kind of for the last few years, so he's got his judge outfit and his gavel. I don't have that yet. I have to get that maybe at some point. Okay, so we'll also have evidence that will be presented up there. So at some points we may put the evidence up on the screen. Okay, when they're introduced into the court. So right now, we're going to go ahead and get started. Okay, I'm going to go through, kind of read the opening spots, and then we'll find somebody to come up and do an opening statement. Okay. All right, our case summary. Pat Green versus Westdale Community School District. In April of 2015, Pat Green, an 8th grade student at Westdale Middle School in Westdale, Iowa, was suspended from school for 1 month for creating a website criticizing the school principal, Dr. Jebediah Boomsnickel. The school district claimed that the website was causing a disruption to the learning at school and undermining the authority of the principal. Pat appealed his suspension to the Westdale School Board, but was denied, and had to serve a full 1 month suspension, during which time he could not attend school or participate in any school activities. Pat Green and his parents are now suing the school district, claiming that his First Amendment right to free speech was violated. They also allege that his Fourth Amendment rights to privacy and protection from illegal search and seizure were violated when the police entered his locker at school and his room at home to seize evidence for this case. Further alleged is that the principal did not follow school policy when issuing the suspension. Pat Green is asking for a letter of apology from the principal, the school board, and the Westdale Police Department. Additionally, he is requesting that his suspension be permanently removed from his school disciplinary records. Finally, he is requesting that the court require the defendants to pay him $100,000 for humiliation, embarrassment, and potential impact on future plans. Witnesses that will testify in this case: Pat Green, our 8th grade student at Westdale Middle School. Taylor Green, the parent of Pat Green. Chris Jones is a student at Westdale Middle School and friend of Pat Green. For the defense, Dr. Jebediah Boonsnickel, the principal of Westdale Middle School. Nikki Smith, an 8th grade social studies teacher at Westdale Middle School. And Sam White, the student resource officer at Westdale Police Department, or with the Westdale Police Department. All right. Some of the things, court case vocabulary that you may need to know, okay? Hopefully we know who the judge is, the person that's presiding. I have the power in this proceeding, okay? The jury, which people who are listening to the arguments, which basically is everybody. The prosecution or the plaintiff, the side accusing someone of wrongdoing. So on this spot, these are our plaintiffs, because they're the ones that are bringing the claim. The defense are the people who are being argued against. They believe that these guys did something wrong. Okay? An opening statement is a short speech by the attorneys to help prepare for the case. Cross-examination is when one attorney from one side will question people from the other side. And then the closing statement would be the very end, after all the witnesses have talked and gone through their evidence. The lawyers would then give a quick closing statement. Okay? The case law or precedents we kind of talked about yesterday, those are all the past court decisions that might be referred to when talking during the trial. Okay? Because if something like this happens somewhere else, we'd say, hey, remember this versus this, where the court already said this couldn't happen. Okay? Sometimes that's brought up. All right, we're ready for the opening statement for the plaintiffs. Anybody want to read that? Come on up.
Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I represent the plaintiff in this case, Pat Green. We are here in court today to correct a terrible situation involving the violation of an American citizen's basic rights guaranteed under the Constitution. My client, Pat Green, is an upstanding young student who is simply exercising one of the most basic rights we have as Americans, the right to free speech, which is protected under the First Amendment. You'll hear how Pat is a typical young, energetic, and creative 14-year-old who has never been in trouble before this incident. After disagreeing with the school principal over some questionable school policies, Pat simply spoke his or her mind by creating a website that expressed frustration that the students were not being treated fairly. Is what he did immature and inappropriate? Perhaps, but being immature or inappropriate isn't against the law. The Westdale Community School District violated Pat's rights to free speech when they suspended him for 1 month for creating on his own time, in his own home, and using his own computer, a simple website criticizing his principal. Furthermore, the Westdale Police Department violated Pat's Fourth Amendment rights to privacy and protection from illegal search and seizure when they searched his school locker and room at home without a search warrant. Finally, we will show that the principal, Jebediah Boonsnickel, will not correctly nor completely follow the established school district policy when he suspended Pat. To prove our case, you will hear testimony from the plaintiff, Pat Green, his parent, Taylor Green, and his friend, Chris Jones. After hearing all the testimony and explaining the law, we ask that you find in favor of my client and send a clear message to the Westdale School District and Police Department that a violation of someone's rights will not be tolerated. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Now, opening statement for the defense.
Your Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I represent the defendants in this case, Westlake School District and Dr. Jebediah Boone-Snickle, principal of Westlake Middle School. This is a simple case that unfortunately illustrates how today's youth have no respect for their elders and those trying to provide them an education. Pat Green created an extremely inappropriate and offensive website about his school principal, Dr. Boone-Snickle. We'll show how Pat's actions created an extremely disruptive school environment where learning could not occur. We will also show how both school policy and the law were followed in this case. At no time were Pat's rights violated. Our witnesses will include Principal Boone-Snickle, Nikki Smith, an 8th grade social studies teacher at Westdale Middle School, and Sam White, officer on the Westdale Police Department. Pat made a very immature and poor decision to create and promote his disrespectful website, and his punishment was completely reasonable given the circumstances. We ask you, the jury, to take a stand and show America that such disrespect will not be tolerated in our schools.
All right, thank you. Ryan, come on up. You're gonna be our first, you're gonna question our first witness. So, the prosecution is calling Pat Green to the stand, so you can just stay there. All right, so now you should be, are you on the spot with Pat Green? Okay, so now you are the cue for the question, you are the answers, and you guys will be going to that. This is the first time where right now you need to be listening to what the defendant is saying. He's the one that's trying to plead his case of why he should not have been suspended, so you gotta listen to what he's saying. Remember, there's always gonna be bias from everybody. So you gotta be able to take into what he says based on what his mom says, what his friend says, as to what the principal says, what the teacher says, what the research. So there's bias in all of it. So you got to be able to go through that. All right, go ahead.
Please state your name and age for the court.
I'm Pat Green and I'm 14 years old.
Describe for the court your experience at Westdale Middle School prior to the incident in question.
Well, I've been at WMS since 6th grade. I try to be a good student other than a few minors now and then for things like tardies or excessive talking. I haven't really gotten into trouble.
What kind of grades do you generally get in school?
Almost all A's and B's. I try really hard in class and study when I need to.
Do you have any favorite classes?
I really love computer class. We learned how to do a bunch of neat stuff like website designs and how to make our own websites using Weebly.
How much experience in designing websites did you have before taking a computer class?
None. I could do basic internet stuff like email and Facebook, but until taking computers, I didn't know anything about web design.
Any other favorite classes?
I really like social studies this year. In the past, it was really boring, but this year we're learning about American history, which is really neat. Oh, and my teacher, Mrs. Smith, is a really cool gal. She tells us all kinds of neat stories and comes up with fun activities for us to do. She does have this weird obsession with water buffaloes, though.
Tell us about the incident in question in this case.
Well, it all started out earlier this year. Our principal, Dr. Boone-Snickle, was making all kinds of crazy rules that we kids didn't like.
What kind of rules?
Well, first of all, he wouldn't let us sit with our friends at lunch. We had to sit with our plan groups, which isn't fair because none of my friends are in my plan group. Lunch is just about the only time we get to meet and talk.
Did you and your friends ever do anything about the rules that you didn't like?
Well, I tried to get a petition going about the lunch situation, and then I tried to start a boycott to let us get to sit where we wanted. You know, just like Miss Smith taught us in social studies about how the American colonists boycott British goods until they repealed the taxes.
How well did your ideas work?
They didn't. Dr. Boone-Snickle found out about my plans and warned us that if we continued, we would get suspended. My friends didn't want to get in trouble, so they chickened out and didn't participate.
What did you do after that?
I didn't give up. I talked to Miss Smith about it, and she suggested I go talk to Dr. Boone-Snickle in person. I scheduled a meeting with him one day after school.
How did that go?
Terrible. First of all, he was late. Then when I started explaining my ideas, he totally ignored me.
How did Dr. Boone-Snickle react to your complaints?
Awful. I explained why the students were happy and even gave him a few suggestions on how we could get people to do their homework and behave at lunch. He didn't really even seem to listen to any of my ideas and just tried to get me out of his office as soon as possible.
How did Dr. Boone-Snickle's response make you feel?
At first I was mad, but then just really disappointed. I was trying to help our school run smoother and he didn't even want to listen to my ideas.
Did Dr. Boone-Snickle say anything else before you left?
Yes, I remember clearly. He said that if I tried anything else or disrespected him in any way, I'd be suspended and that this was my final warning.
Was his warning just verbal or did he give you a written warning?
As far as I can remember, it was just a verbal warning.
What did you do next?
I was so mad, and I thought about doing something to get back at Dr. B, like spray painting his house, putting a bag of dog poop on his front step, or egging his car.
Did you do any of those things?
No, after I calmed down, I realized those things wouldn't accomplish anything.
What happened next?
That night at home, I had an idea. I wanted to make a website to let all the students at my school know what happened, how little Dr. B cared about us and our ideas.
How did you make the website?
It was easy. I just used what I had learned about Weebly in social studies class at school. I just typed some stuff up, put a few pictures on it, and uploaded it to a website hosting server.
What was the name of your website?
Boonsnickelsucks.weebly.com.
What else was on the website?
I explained how we were unhappy about lunch and what happened when I went to talk with Dr. B.
Anything else?
Just a few other jokes and things making fun of Dr. B, but it wasn't really anything bad.
How much disruption did your website cause at school?
Not much. A lot of kids were talking about it, but it isn't like it disrupted class or anything. Like I said before, I made this totally on my own time and with my own computer.
What kind of trouble did you get into at school for making this website?
A lot. A few days after I made the website, I got called out of class to go down to Dr. Boonsnickel's office. When I got down there, both Dr. B and our school resource officer, Sam White, were there. Dr. B's face was bright red and the veins looked like they were about to pop off the side of his head.
What kind of questions did they ask you?
They asked me all about making the website, where and when I made it, and why.
What happened next?
Officer White told me that he had searched my locker and found the pages I was passing out to other students to promote my website.
How did that make you feel?
I was upset. I didn't think the school could go through my locker without asking first. Isn't that an invasion of my privacy? They even took my property. That for sure is a violation of my Fourth Amendment right to protection from illegal search and seizure.
What else did Dr. Boonsnickels say then?
He said that I was immediately suspended for 1 month of school. I wasn't allowed to attend class or even go to practice. I played for the WMS Warriors water polo team. After that, Dr. B called my mom and she came and picked me up at school.
What was your mom's reaction?
She was not happy. Once we got home, she sent me to my room and said that we would talk about it once my dad got home.
What else happened that day?
After school, my friend Chris came over and snuck into my room through the window. We talked about what had happened. He said that after I left school, it was crazy. All I knew and could talk about was my website and how I got suspended. He said no one got any work done the rest of the day and I knew their other classes.
What happened next?
We played Assassin's Creed Unity for a while, and then Chris noticed some flashing lights outside.
What was it?
It was the cops. Chris didn't want any part of this, so he jumped right out the window and ran as fast as he could. I heard my mom talking to the police, but since it was downstairs, I couldn't exactly hear what was being said.
Did the police come up to your room?
Yes, there was a knock at my bedroom door, and before I could even answer, Officer White and another policeman came barging in and told me to freeze and sit on the bed.
What did the police officers do?
They went right to my computer, unplugged it, and took away without asking or anything.
At any point, did you give the police officers permission to search your room or take your computer away?
No, they never even gave me the opportunity to say anything, yes or no.
How did this whole situation end up?
After I had a chance to explain to my parents exactly what had happened, they saw my side of things and agreed that my rights had been violated. We appealed my suspension to the school board, but were denied, so now here we are in court.
How has this affected your life?
I've been miserable ever since I was suspended. Everyone thinks I'm some kind of trouble. I can tell by the way the teachers look at me that they are almost expecting me to cause trouble. How in the world will that ever be fair on giving me grades again? When my family goes shopping or out to eat, I can see people pointing at me and whispering. It has completely ruined my reputation. I can never get that back. I even lost my starting spot on the water polo team. I was really hoping to get a college scholarship for that. Worst of all, it's brought shame to my parents. I really feel like I let them down the way things have turned out.
All right, thank you, Ryan. Bring your seat. So we have our direct examination of Pat Green. Lots of questions. Okay, that lawyer is going to try to make it sound like something was in their favor. So you got to take all that stuff when you're thinking about what's happening. Now we have our cross-examination where the attorney from this side will get to ask questions. So why don't Ari Mahoney, you get to come up and be our lawyer. Just ask. Pat Green, cross-examination, you're the accused. Maybe the accused.
Okay. Is it true that you are the sole creator of the website www.boonsnickelsucks.com?
Yes.
So do all of the things written on there are completely good? So are all of the things written on there completely your ideas?
Yeah. Did I say that?
Yeah.
At this,
Oh, I'm sorry, that'd be you.
At this time, I would like to introduce you into evidence a copy of the BooneSnicholSex.weebly.com website.
All right, so there's the first piece of evidence.
there you go.
Could you please read the contents of the website?
No, just you go ahead and go through and read it. There you go. I can do that.
Hey WMS student subordinates, in case you have been living under a rock lately, here's what's up. Dr. Boonsnickel is a crazy fool who thinks Dr. B rules the world. Do you like being treated like a prisoner at school? Because that's all Dr. B thinks you'll ever be. Do you want to sit with your friends at lunch? Do you hate home workouts? Join with me and fight back against this joker. Let's do whatever it takes to make Dr. B's life so miserable we are free from the evil. Disrupt everything, food fights, protests, boycotts. I say even tar and feather them all. Join the revolution, let's fight for our rights and our freedom.
Let's do the next your goals. Oh, you got that? You read that part. Join the revolution, our goals.
Goals, kick Boonsnickel out. Students rule at WMS. Freedom at lunch. No homework hours.
All right, so your question now.
At your first meeting with Dr. Boonsnickel about homework house and the lunch rules, did he specifically warn you that if you continued complaining that you would be suspended?
Yeah.
So even though you were warned and knew what the consequences would be, you went ahead and made your website anyway?
Yeah, but I didn't think it would matter since it was out of school.
Isn't it true that you promoted your website by passing out flyers at school that gave the website's address?
Yes.
Your behavior related to the website wasn't completely out of school at that point, was it?
I guess not.
Isn't it true that your website caused a big disruption to the learning environment at school?
I guess so.
No further questions.
All right. The next witness, the plaintiff calls Taylor Green. So you just heard the direct examination and the cross-examination. What was the difference? Actually, tell me what was the differences in the direct examination and cross-examination? What was the big difference in it? Can you tell me? Did you hear anything or see anything? Cole?
Well, in the first one, he seemed like so innocent, but in the second one, he didn't seem really guilty.
Okay, and that could be part of it. So each one's asking questions to get those answers. What were the answers like from his attorney, right?
In the beginning, they were like long and detailed, and this one was like, yeah, I guess.
Okay, and so then it was just yes or no, basically, when the cross-examination, because you didn't want to say a lot of stuff. Cole?
The first one was more about what other people did wrong in the situation, and the second one was all about what he did.
Okay, so they were trying to put blame on other people, okay, which could be the case. So you gotta take all the information in and make your decision. All right, so Taylor Green is Pat's mom. All right, who would like to be the lawyer in this one? Hey, Colby. So you should be in the queue.
Oh, okay. Please state your name, age, and relationship to the plaintiff of the court.
I am Taylor Green, I am 45 years old, and I am the parent of Pat Green.
How would you describe Pat?
He's a great kid. I was shocked when Dr. Boonsnickel called me and explained that Pat was suspended, since that was the first time I ever heard him being in trouble.
How did you react to the news?
At first I was extremely upset and mad, but then once Pat explained everything to me, I wasn't so mad anymore.
What did you think of the website that Pat made?
Of course I didn't approve of what he wrote at all, and I feel very strongly about this. Discipline should be taken care of in the home. I can deal with this on my own and don't need Dr. Boonsnickel or anybody else telling me how to raise my kids.
How often had Dr. Boonsnickel been in contact with you as a parent prior to the suspension?
Never. I would think that before suspending a student, the principal might want to at least call and talk to the parent or send me a letter about it.
Why did you appeal Pat's suspension to the Westdale School Board?
I really felt that Dr. Boonsnickel actions violated Pat's First Amendment rights to free speech.
Were you there when the police came to your house on April 1st, 2015?
Yes.
What did they say?
They asked if Pat was home and explained that they needed to search his computer to find information about the website he made about Dr. Boone's nickel. They asked if it was okay with me if they went upstairs to his room and looked around.
How did you respond?
I didn't see anything wrong with him coming in and looking around in his room. So I let them in. They went upstairs to Pat's room and took his computer away.
Did the police ever mention anything to you about a search warrant?
No, but now thinking about it, they should have. That is another reason why we decided to fight Pat's suspension.
Did the police ever clear it with you before they took Pat's computer?
No, I did tell them they could look around, but I never mentioned anything about giving them okay to take anything out of his room.
How has this affected your family?
It has been a terrible embarrassment to my family. Basically, our family's reputation in Westdale has been ruined.
Okay, no more questions, so you sit down. So our cross-examination, anybody want to do that? Ben, why don't you be our cross-examination of Taylor Green? You read the cues.
Do you feel protected of your children?
Of course.
So you would say and do anything you can to protect and support your kids?
Yes.
So in order to protect Pat, your testimony today to the jury might be somewhat biased, right?
I guess so.
Do you agree do you agree that the website Pat made was inappropriate and disrespectful?
Yes.
Do you want your children to go to a school where there are few distractions to the learning environment as possible?
Of course.
So if you're a student, if a student did something at your school that created disruption in their classes, do you think that they should be disciplined?
Yes, as long as it is done fairly.
Isn't it true that Pat's computer was located in his upstairs bedroom at your house?
Yes.
Was Pat allowed to be on his computer unsupervised in his room?
Yes, I trusted him.
And isn't it also true that it was on this same unsupervised computer that Pat created the boonsnickelsucks.bb.com website?
Yes.
Do you own your own home?
Yes.
So you are responsible and qualified to make the decision of who can enter your home?
Yes.
When officers from the Westdale Police Department came to your door on the afternoon of April 1st, 2015, did they ask permission before entering your home?
Yes.
What was your answer to their question?
I told them that they could enter.
And did they ask permission to go upstairs and search Pat's room?
Yes.
And how did you reply to that question?
I also told them that was okay.
So at the time, did you tell the police officers that you did not want to enter your home?
No.
Okay, no more questions? Good. Now you should probably have some information from Mrs. Green written down from her direct examination and from her cross-examination. Okay, so give me a second to maybe write that. We might be able to we should be able to get through the next witness. So our direct examination of Chris Jones. The plaintiff calls Chris Jones to the stand, so we need a lawyer. Honest, why don't you come question Chris?
You just started.
Read the cues.
Please state your name and age for the court.
I'm Chris Jones and I'm 14 years old.
How do you know the plaintiff, Pat Green?
We are friends. We have gone to school together in Westdale since kindergarten.
How would you describe Pat?
He's a great kid. Everyone at school likes Pat because he's always friendly and willing to help everyone with anything they need.
Why do you think Pat was upset with the way things were going on at school?
I can definitely see why he's upset. All the rules Dr. B put in place at lunch, like sitting or we sat at lunch, were getting crazy and way out of control.
So Pat wasn't the only person upset with how things were going at school?
Not at all. Pretty much everyone wasn't happy, but Pat was the only person who wasn't afraid to stand up for what he believed and try to fight for the rights of the students at our school.
What did Pat tell you about how he was gonna speak about these issues?
At first, he told me that about the meeting with Dr. B and how it didn't go so well. And a few days later, I learned about the website he made.
How did you learn about Pat's website?
First, he just told me and a few other close friends. Then a day or two later, he brought some flyers to school to pass out so everyone could find out about it.
What did the other students think of Pat's website and review?
Of course, it was a mixed reaction. Some thought it was funny, some didn't think it was appropriate, others just didn't care.
How did Pat's suspension affect him?
I noticed a lot of changes that really concerned me. After the suspension, it was like no one gave him a chance anymore.
Okay, so that's all honest, thank you. So that was your direct examination of Chris Jones. Now, our cross-examination. Who wants to do that? Marcus?
Would you consider yourself good friends, even best friends with Pat Green?
Yes,
Would you agree that friends are supposed to stick up for each other no matter what?
yes,
So your testimony today might be considered to be a little bit biased.
I guess so.
Did Pat tell you that Dr. Boone-Snickel had warned him if he continued his protest, he would be suspended?
Yes,
Did you spend a lot of time in Pat's room at his house?
yes,
Did you ever use his home computer?
yes,
Were you at school on the day that Pat was suspended?
yes,
Did the news of Pat's suspension spread quickly among the students that day?
yes,
Were students distracted or upset upon hearing the news of his suspension?
yes,
Was the news of Pat's suspension a distraction in your classes that day?
yes,
Did you help Pat pass out flyers about his website to other students?
yes,
At this time,
Yep, read that.
At this time, I would like to introduce into evidence a copy of the flyer used to publicize the boonesicklesucks.weebly.com website at Westdale Middle School. Is this the flyer you gave out to other students at school?
yes.
Could you please read for the court the full text of the flyer?
Hey, Boone-Snickel, check out this website, www.boonsnickelsucks.com. Fight the power, stop the train, take back our school.
Did the flyer swiftly spread around the school?
Yes,
Were some other students even accessing Pat's website on the school's computers instead of working on their assignments in class?
yes,
Isn't it true that the day of Pat's suspension, many students were so focused on his action on the website and the suspension that there was a major distraction to learning in their classes and other classes all across the school?
yes.
No more questions? Okay, it's a good spot for us to stop for today. So, now you've heard all the plaintiff witnesses. Tomorrow we should be able to get through the defense witnesses, and then maybe Friday closing statements, and give you a chance to speak your evidence. Do not lose that paper.
Yes, Connor. What are you doing? Yeah, that's all.
Are you gonna go? Yeah. Yes.
Yes.